Hi, my name is Suzanne Palmer, and up until this past September, a professor of clinical radiology and medicine at the Keck School of Medicine at the University of Southern California. My role in this board is not only to tell you about academic radiology, but to also be an example of someone who didn't necessarily intend to be a radiologist at an academic institution. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to know exactly what you want when you start looking for a job. My personal story may be a little longer because my path has been a bit more meandering. I was a board certified internist prior to starting radiology residency at UC Irvine, and I completed a body fellowship at USC. During fellowship, there was a global stock market crash, making the job market very tight. I wasn't able to move out of Los Angeles or the area at that time, which really made my job search even harder. My fellow Los Angeles County and Orange County colleagues were all interviewing for the same handful of positions. And honestly, most of the groups didn't feel like the right fit, either because of personalities or the job descriptions. Fortunately, during my fellowship year, I was offered a position that opened at USC in the women's division, which at the time was a section within the body division. Up until that point, I just assumed that I'd go into private practice. I'd never considered staying in academics because I thought I didn't have enough experience doing research. But the more I thought about it, I knew I liked being in an educational environment. The clinical work was stimulating, teaching fun and challenging, and I was also eager to try my hand at clinical research. USC seemed the best choice at the time, so I accepted the position. So this is just the first part of my story, but I want to stop here to emphasize that whether or not you know what you want in a job, or think you know what you want, sometimes a decision is made for you. Sometimes the choices are limited by circumstances out of your control, or limited by non-work variables you can't ignore. So you make the best decision at the time. Also, you never really know whether a position is right for you until you start working in that position. So now back to my journey. After 3 years at USC, the clinical work was still stimulating, teaching still fun, but what I realized was that the department seemed to be frozen in amber and faculty morale was dropping. I had no mentor to guide me in clinical research, so that was going nowhere. I scheduled meetings with my division chief, vice chair, and department chair to discuss my observations and concerns and what I thought I could change to make things a bit better. What I came away with after those meetings was the realization that things were not going to change unless there was a change in leadership. So after 4 years, I decided to leave USC and go to private practice. I joined a small group in a hospital I knew very well. The group had very recently dissolved after a death of a partner and a bitter dissolution of the contract between the two remaining senior partners. I knew most of the partnership track radiologists and felt very comfortable working with them. However, the day I walked into the door, I was told that the group had not dissolved. 1 month before I started, the disputing partners were sent to arbitration. One of my colleagues at the time had considered telling me about this complete turnaround when he found out, but he thought it would scare me away, which it definitely would have. So I lasted through my 1 year contract while a very bitter legal battle raged on between the partners. But while I was away from USC, a new chair had started, morale there was improving, and changes were being made. He ultimately recruited me back to USC. Now, you may think that my time in private practice was a waste since I ended up right back in the same place I started. But I've learned from all my detours, even if they don't turn out the way I expect. In my brief time in private practice, I learned that radiology is a business, and who you are in business with makes a difference in your success, regardless of whether you are in private practice or academic practice. In order to succeed, everyone has to work together with a shared vision, shared goals. Also, having been recruited by the new chair, I was in a good position for leadership opportunities back at USC. I was not a legacy of the prior administration, but part of the early rebuilding of the department, which needed a lot of work. Eventually, I was made chief of the body imaging division and given the opportunity to build a strong, cohesive unit of talented faculty members by hiring excellent recruits maintaining a collegial environment, encouraging leadership, and supporting academic achievement. I got to build my own environment. So I've recruited and retained a lot of radiologists as division chief, and I've lost a few to private practice and other teaching institutions, but I've told them all the same thing. Sometimes your choices are limited, so make the best choice you can based on the information available to you at the time. Actually, sometimes it's easier to make a decision when you don't have too many choices. Keep an open mind. You never know whether your choice is the right one until you've started and are in the middle of it. Don't be afraid to ask or talk to leadership. Good leaders appreciate those who bring ideas and the offer to work toward change. If they accept your offer to help, excellent. If they shut you down, maybe you're in the wrong environment. Joining a new group during times of change can be risky, but that should not deter you. Making a change can solidify what you want out of a job. Each change brings experience to be used and built on. Oh, and also, changing groups does not equal failure. However, you really don't want to make too many changes in a short period of time because radiology is a small world and word gets around. But my journey is not over. This past September, I moved from USC to the VA. I'm now Chief of Imaging at the Long Beach VA. I really wasn't looking to leave USC, but we had a change in chair in 2020. And that was my third chair while at USC. Each chair has a different personality, past experience, and approach to lead or how to lead a department. It just happened that my new chair's leadership style was too different from mine. Now, a little bit about academic programs in general. Remember, not all are the same. I was on a panel like this with somebody who said that if you're going into academic radiology, the expectation is that you will have no time to yourself. You will use all your nights, weekends, and vacations on research and never have a life. Well, I thought that was pretty dismal. Yes, you will frequently work on weekends and evenings on resident lectures, manuscript drafts, and other things beyond clinical work. And you may have to use some vacation for speaking engagements. If you want to keep your job corralled into set work hours, then maybe academic radiology is not for you. However, you really are not forfeiting your life when you go into academics. Depending on the institution and your role within the department, your job description may even be closer to private practice. There's no one academic job. There are 4 pillars to every academic program: scholarship, teaching, clinical, and service. And you will be told what the expectations are when you interview. So the best plan, especially if you can't decide on what you want, is to interview at both academic and private practices. I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me.